Hey, good morning. We're going to learn today, in continuation of our Elul Kolel, we're going to be learning topics of Tshuvah, as is very pertinent to Chodesh Elul. The 27 days left till Rosh Hashanah or so, we're getting ready, and we spend the month looking at the past year, how we are serving Hashem, and this is in all three aspects, in machshava, dibur, and maisa, in the way we think, in our thoughts, in the way we speak, and indeed in our actions. And this is what we do during the month of Elul, when the king is in the field. We look back at the prior year and we get ready for the new year and to get aksiva v'chasimo teva. So we're going to begin today with Hilchos Tshuvah from the Rambam. And I'm going to share some of the, and I'm going to be sharing the Rebbe's Shiurim and the explanations on Hilchos Tshuvah. So the Rambam says like this: Hilchos Tshuvah, mitzvah is to say achas. There's one mitzvah, one positive command in this halacha, and that what is the positive command of Tshuvah? That a person should return. If he did an avera, he should return from his sin. And he should do vidui. He's going to explain what vidui means, but the concept here is that there's one positive mitzvah involved in Hilchos Tshuvah, and that is return and do vidui. We did. That's right. So we're done. We're tzaddikim.
We're in the
We're balei Tshuvah. Huh?
We're in the Rambam now.
Yes. And in these halachas, the Rambam is going to explain what this means, what does Tshuvah mean, what are the fundamental components that are involved in Tshuvah, so to speak, as a result of that. And these are all going to be explained in the Rambam's halachas of Tshuvah. I want to share a brief introduction before we get into the actual halacha from the Rebbe on the Rambam's Hilchos Tshuvah. The Rambam has 10 prakim, 10 chapters of Hilchos Tshuvah. Why 10? We know that everything the Rambam did, and the way the Rambam wrote his sefer, all his svarim, was with tremendous precision. It wasn't just, by the way, we'll put maybe this amount of halachas here, and that amount of halachas there. The order of things, there's important lessons and tremendous messages in every component the way the Rambam wrote his halachas. And the fact that there's 10 prakim also carries a special lesson and a teaching in the fact that it's 10 prakim to Rambam. The Rebbe says that these 10 prakim represent the 10 categories of Yidden. That the Rambam is addressing, when it comes to Hilchos Tshuvah, all of the halachas of Tshuvah and explain how they apply to every one of the 10 different types of Yidden. In Chumash we say there's Nevi'im, there's prophets, right? There's Rashim, there's heads, there's water carriers, there's wood choppers, right? There's all different categories of people.
Wait, these are his exact 10? The Rebbe is laying out?
The Rebbe doesn't say all 10, but the Rebbe quotes from Chumash.
Are there 10
saying
there?
Yes.
Okay.
And what he's saying here is that each one of these 10 categories of Yidden, regardless of type of which category a person belongs to, whether he's a Navi, he's a head of a generation, or he's a wood chopper or a water carrier, and whatever, it's an indispensable part of Am Yisrael. And every single person has a part which is vital for the mission of making the world a better place, of preparing the world for Mashiach, of elevating the sparks that are in this world. And each one of these categories, of these 10 types of people, the Rambam is addressing when he says 10 prakim in Hilchos Tshuvah. Not only that, but in addition to the fact that it addresses 10 types of people, there's 10 koiches in every nefesh. Every nefesh, we know, taken from the 10 spheres, has 10 faculties, 10 parts to the way our neshama operates. We have intellectual parts of ourselves, we have emotional parts of ourselves, different types of needs within the person, modes of expression, and so on and so forth. And Tshuvah, and the guide to Tshuvah from the Rambam, is going into every single one of these 10 general parts of the person. And that's why, again, it's specifically 10 prakim. Now, we're going to get into this, and then we'll share some more of the explanations and insights from the Rebbe on this. The Rambam begins, Perek Risha in Aleph, Kol ha-mitzvah shebeTorah, all mitzvahs in the Torah, whether it's a mitzvah asay or a mitzvah leis asay, whether it's a positive commandment, like do something, right? Put on tefillin, eat matzah, give tzedakah, whatever that mitzvah is, or it's a leis asay. It's a negative, a prohibition, where Torah says, don't eat chametz on Pesach, don't light a fire on Shabbos, don't steal from someone, kill someone. All of these negative commandments, regardless of which category it's in, whether it's a positive or a negative, if a person transgressed, he violated one of these mitzvahs, and the Rambam elaborates, it doesn't matter if it was on purpose, or if it was by mistake. When a person does tshuvah, and he returns from his chait, he regrets, he does tshuvah from his avera, chayav lihisvades, the person is required to do vidur. Okay. Even if it was a mistake, a person did something. I didn't knowingly, advertently break a rule. Whatever it happened, I have to do vidur. B'fnei Akel Baruch Hu, in front of Hashem, shenemar, as the pasuk tells us, Isha ki yasim kol chates adam v'yisvado eschalas hamashar asui, which refers to vidui dvarim. Let me ask you a question: what is worse, someone that does something on purpose, or someone that does something by mistake? What's harsher? On purpose, right? Because it's a premeditated decision. It's an act where a person says, "I'm going to go and do something wrong," that the Eibusher doesn't allow, right? Okay.
Well, even if it's not premeditated,
it's knowingly.
Yeah.
So consciously, you went and did something that the Eibusher does not want you to do. That's pretty bad. However, if someone did something by mistake, you can't say that I have negative interests, so I want to go against Hashem's will. It's a mistake. The Chassidus says the truth is that when something is done by mistake, it has a somewhat of a harsher component to it. And that's because the fact that you're able, what? You didn't know what to do. Yeah. The fact that something just popped out and caused you to do something, that means that somewhere deep down, your existence allows you to do that. If I did it on purpose, that means it's not me, but I decided I'm going to do something. I don't agree with it. Maybe I don't want to, I'm going to do it anyways. But when a person does an avera by mistake, what's really happening here is he's taking something, it's an expression that deep within himself, he has a part that's not okay. Because naturally, you should want to do the right thing. Right? Naturally, our neshama wants to serve Hashem. And the fact that by mistake we can go and do something negative, if someone is really, really in tune and it's second nature, he won't do these things by mistake. But that's just an explanation that when we talk about the importance of this, the differentiation between something on purpose and something by mistake. What's the first thing the Rambam tells us? That whether it's on purpose or it's by mistake, when he does tshuvah and he returns, he has to say vidui.
Did you say, Rabbi, that the way doing something by accident is worse?
Yes, because it expresses that a part of me is prone to going against Hashem's will.
And
we're not going to get punished that way.
Of that
yes.
At the moment.
Correct. We're not going to get punished because it was a mistake, but if you want to look at the quality, so to speak, and what's the level that I'm at, if I can mistakenly go and not pay attention to what's going on, and not realize and do something against Hashem, that means somewhere inside of me I'm not really refined as much as I would like to be. So that's carries a certain negativity. What is vidui? How do you do vidui? How do you do confession? What's this all about? So what happens, a person says, Ana Hashem, please Hashem, chatasi I sinned, which goes on mitzvahs that were done, or averas that were transgressed by mistake, unknowingly. Ovisi means I did it on purpose. A person says he did something wrong on purpose. Or pashaiti, this refers to a category of mitzvah where a person did it, what's called lahachis. A person is angry and he's going to do it not just on purpose. He's going to do it dafke, specifically. Just Hashem doesn't want it, I'm going to do it anyways. Obviously, that's a very harsh level that we're talking about. But that is a third category. And a person says, he's doing vidui, he's confessing and he's regretting for what he has done. And what does he say? I did so and so. When he says what he's done wrong, I regret what I did. I'm embarrassed about what I did, the myself from my actions, and I'm never going to return to do these things again. So, what is tshuvah according to the Rambam? Step number 1 is a person regrets, he verbalizes, and he does a vidui, and he tells Hashem, "I'm sorry that I did this. I'm not going to do it again." Okay, that is the main part of vidui. Then the Rambam says, "Chol hamarbe," anyone that increases and does a lot of this vidui, harezem meshubach. It's praiseworthy. The more you come to Hashem and you say in Tachnun, I did this thing wrong and I made a mistake and I did it on purpose, whatever else was done, and I'm embarrassed and I regret and I'm not going to do it again, that is praiseworthy. Those that have done, when it comes in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, when certain Averes needed a carbon, right? You have to bring an offering. When they brought the carbon, whether it was a carbon for doing something by mistake, the person took an animal. It's coming to the Beis HaMikdash. It's called a carbon chatos, right? He made a mistake, and he's bringing a carbon to atone for the mistake. Or a carbon asham. He did something on purpose, and he's bringing a carbon to try to atone for what he did. He must do vidui. If he doesn't do vidui with that, then the carbon is worthless. In other words, what we do today, it was even done during the times of the Beis HaMikdash. You have to come and say Hashem, whatever, I sinned.
Do you do that with your hands on the animal?
That, yes. You do a smicha, but it doesn't. It's not about that particular right now. It's the point that there has to be verbalization of regret and vidui, confession of what was done. Now, in Yiddishkeit, we don't have confession to a human. The Rambam is going to talk about it soon. In certain cases, there is a confession to a human. But when we're talking about the vidui, I just want to stress that we mean to Hashem. I'm not publicizing to any human being, telling them what I've done wrong, what I didn't do wrong. Sometimes it's helpful if a person says, I'm going to try to do something, and then there's a human they have to answer to, like a mentor, a mashpia. But generally speaking, when you talk about vidui, you're not talking to a human being, you're talking to Hashem. And not only for karbanis, but the king kol mechuvi misas bezdin mechuvi malchus. Even someone that bezdin is sentencing to death, or bezdin is giving lashes, it's not a full kapara unless this person said vidui. If he doesn't say vidui, if he didn't confess, then even the bezdin killed him, right? And killing is a certain atonement, right? Or they gave him 39 lashes, and that's an atonement. But if he didn't do vidui, he didn't say Hashem, I'm sorry what I did, then it's not considered a tshuvah. Okay, so number 1, as the Rambam says, there has to be vidui dvarim. A person needs to confess, say vidui for what they've done wrong. And furthermore, the Rambam says, someone hurt his friend. You damaged your friend. You hurt him physically, or you took his money, right? You may have paid him back, but you didn't turn to Hashem and say, Chatasi, Avisi, I sinned, I messed up, I'm not going to do this again, I'm embarrassed that I did it. Then, even though you paid him, you don't have tshuvah, you don't have kapara. Okay? As the pasuk tells us, Mikol Chatei Sa'adam, from all of the sins of the person, whether it's between me and Hashem, whether it's between me and other people, if I don't do vidui, it's not considered to be a proper tshuvah.
Is this in the Surah of Tefillah, or can one do it any time?
So we have, Anshe Knesset HaGedela, the men of the Great Assembly have established ways to daven. But now we're talking from the component of tshuvah. What is, when to do it is a question. If it's done by the carbon, today if it's done during davening, if it's done before a person goes to sleep, now we have it in davening. Or before Yom Kippur, the Rambam is going to discuss that on Erev Yom Kippur, even before you eat, you should do vidui. In case something happens while a person eats and he chokes and he can't do vidui, so at least in Kippur came and he did vidui. So when to do it, you should probably do it in the times of davening when it's structured and so on. But if a person has a particular thing he's doing tshuvah for, he should know that vidui dvarim, it's a biblical commandment, it's a mitzvah aseh, that a person has to verbalize what is it that he's regretting, what is it that he's done wrong, what are you sorry about.
But I'm afraid I forget. Could I do it right now? At this moment?
You could. I don't know if it's the right place and context, but when next time you daven mincha, you could do it by mincha.
You're saying it should be in the Gedarim of Tefillah?
I think so.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be, but the Rambam doesn't connect it to tefillah, but that's part of it. Okay. At the very end of Hilchos Tshuvah, the Rambam discusses something, and he says that the general hanhaga, the general behavior of a yid, has to be in a way of tshuvah constantly. We have to remember that while we talk about tshuvah as correcting a certain aveira, did something wrong, he has to say vidu, he has to change what he did. There has to be a certain movement, a certain feeling of turning to Hashem that's constant. Okay? Because our connection to Hashem has to be one it's a true connection. Which means I'm turning to Hashem because I have this bond, this iskashros with Hashem, which is not here because I want to get reward. Physical reward. The person's looking, he wants to have bane, children, family, he wants to have health. So he says, if I do the right thing, I'm going to do what Hashem wants, I'll be rewarded with health or with livelihood, with money. Right? And therefore, if I didn't, I'm going to do tshuvah. The Rambam says later that he wants, that he needs to have a deeper level of tshuvah, where it's not just, I want to correct it because I don't want to have a physical repercussion from it, or I want to do the right thing because I want to have a physical reward. That's not our attitude to the Eibishter. It should be one of tshuvah where I want to return to my Maker, meaning I want to be connected, I want to have a relationship with Hashem. Not for physical reward.
So there is a reward.
There is. But our driving force should not be the reward. Not even spiritual reward. Which is the second level. A person says, I want to do mitzvahs because there's Olam Haba. I want to be rewarded. Which is great. But it's not enough. That's not the ultimate way a person serves Hashem. Even not, forget physical. He's not looking for a physical reward. He's not even looking for a spiritual reward.
He's a mystic.
The what?
He's a mystic.
He's a mystic? Well, it's very...
Mysteros.
He thinks
Which is part of our tradition. A lot of people don't understand that.
Tell Eddie, speak to my brother. Tell Earth to speak to Lee. People
don't understand this.
He's in the front of the
What you're saying. People don't understand what you're saying. It's very powerful.
Yes. And the Rebbe says not just for physical reward, not even spiritual reward, but how should you serve Hashem? Serve Hashem out of ahava, out of love to Hashem. That should be our drive. Now, of course, we get reward when we do the right thing. We do. Physical reward. We get spiritual reward when we do the right thing. But why am I doing it? Am I doing tshuvah now because, oops, I don't want to have a negative thing on me, it may impact me in a negative way? It's all correct. But the Rambam says we have to have a certain turning to Hashem, that we do things because out of ava to Hashem. And when a person has a real love to Hashem, it's his driving force. Everything he does is pulling him in that way. He's in love with the Eibishter. Hashem wants this, I want to do it. I'm happy to do it, I'm excited to do it. I'm looking for more opportunities to do it better, because it's coming from ava, from a love. And when a person has that level of ava, he also has avas Yisrael. He also loves other Yidden. Right? Because if you love somebody, you love who they love. Hopefully. Okay? So Hashem refers to Avram Avinu, the very first year. It says, Avram oy havoi, Avram my beloved. Hashem loves Avram. Hashem loves Yidden. If you love Hashem, then you love Hashem's Yidden. Meaning, our fellow Yidden. And therefore it brings the special Achdus and Avas Yisrael. Now, let's continue in the Rambam a little bit, but the question really is, it's easy to say, have Ava for Hashem, but how do you develop that Ava for Hashem? We're talking about a love, which is a physical emotion, that a person should reach a level where he's yearning to serve Hashem out of an Ava to Him. How do you get that?
Ava is the word to give.
Ava.
Aleph, Vav, Aleph, Vet, Hey. Ava. Give.
So when you give, you have the Ava.
That's what Ava is.
Very good. Okay. So we're going to elaborate on that a little bit. But let's do halacha beis, the second halacha regarding tshuva. Number one, we said you have to have vidui. Okay, a person has to verbalize confession to the Eibishter. Number two, so'ir hamishtaleach. During the times of the Beis Hamikdash on Yom Kippur, there was a goat which was sent la'azazel, right? It was sent away. This so'ir, this goat that was sent away, it's a kapara for all the Yidden. But before it was sent away, the Kohen Gadol had to do vidui. You can't just send away a goat, even on Yom Kippur, even from the Avodah of the Beis Hamikdash, and think that it's all done. The Kohen, yes. He would say
in the first person?
no. He would do a vidui for all of the Yidden. It's a special tefillah on behalf of Am Yisrael.
Okay.
He would say vidui, because if you just take the sire and send it away, it's not going. It's not going to solve it. Okay, there has to be vidui. Now, this sire, it atones for the Yidden sins. I'm going to use a very interesting term here. Kalos, hakalos v'achamuros. The lenient sins, like the small ones, which we don't usually categorize mitzvahs this way, and hachamuros, the harsher ones. Okay? So there's lenient ones, and there's harsher ones. And the so'ir hamishtaleach, the goat that gets sent away, if vidui, and vidui was done by the Kohen Gadol, that atones for all of these kalos v'achamuros, all types of mitzvahs, bein she'avar b'zadin, bein she'avar b'shgaga, whether it was done on purpose or it was done by mistake, bein she'hoidaloi, bein she'loi hoidaloi, whether he knew about it or he didn't know about it. What's an example where a person did not know about it? So he says, for example, there are two pieces of fats here. One is permissible fat and one is forbidden fat. It's chaylev. You ate one of them. You thought it was the right one. After Yom Kippur, you found out, someone told you, you ate the one on the right side, that was the non-kosher one. So you just found out that before Yom Kippur, you ate something non-kosher. You're over on an Isser.
There's an example that's much more common that probably
One second.
happens every day.
1 second. So I didn't know, it's not that I did it by mistake. It was by mistake. But I didn't even know that it was an Isser. And now it's after Yom Kippur, what do I do?
Why was it there?
The what?
Why was it there in the first place?
Now you're getting into a category that certain shgoge, certain
Somebody's
mistakes.
trying to trick you.
This is the example. What was your example you wanted to bring?
You hurt somebody's feelings without knowing it.
Okay, yes, but this is a very specific type of mistake. There's mistakes where I didn't realize what I was doing.
Right.
Then there's mistakes I knew what I was doing, but it wasn't the right thing.
He's right.
He's right? I know he's right. But we're just giving another addition to that. So even on those things, the Kohen Gadol's vidui on behalf of the Yidden and the goat that gets sent away is the chaper. But what's he stressing here? What's the Rambam stressing? That you have to have vidui. If you don't have vidui, this is all if a person did tshuvah. Aval im lo yasa tshuvah, the Kohen Gadol could be in the Beis Hamikdash bringing a soyer, sending a goat away for you, and he's even saying vidui, but you yourself are not doing tshuvah, and the goat is not mechaper for you. It's only mechaper, says the Rambam, on small things. On mitzvahs kalos, more of the lenient ones. Then, even if he didn't do tshuvah, because the Kohen Gadol brought the korban, and he said vidui, it's mechaper on the kalos. What's kalos? What's chamuros? So Rambam says, Mahin akalos, what are the lenient mitzvahs? What are the stringent mitzvahs? Hachamuros, strict ones, are ones that a person is chayav misas bezdin. There are certain transgressions, certain violations in Torah, that the isur, the punishment that's given is bezdin kills the person. Now, let's say breaking Shabbos, right? In a particular way, if a person breaks Shabbos, he gets his punishment is to be stoned. Now, it's unlikely that it'll happen because you have to have two witnesses that saw him, that warned him not to do it, that told him what the punishment, the consequence will be if he does it, that he'll go to Bezdin and testify. Bezdin is then going to cross-examine these two witnesses, ask them all the types of questions, and then, if they find him to be accurate and so on and so forth, then they'll be stoned. What if a person did a mitzvah, he broke Shabbos, but there was no witnesses. It's still that category. He's not going to get killed by Bezdin. But that's a mitzvah hachamurais. Eating matzah on Pesach, eating chametz on Pesach, right? It's Isser Kares. Eating on Yom Kippur, Isser Kares. These things goes into the category of mitzvahs hachamurais, the harsh ones.
So Misa and Korah.
Yes. And he adds to that shvuas shav, a false oath, or sheker. Sheker means if a person in a Bezdin setting, he's not taking an oath in a false way, but sometimes they reverse the oath. Because the person can't take the oath, so they turn it on him, they add it. It's a different type of oath. But also, if he lies under oath in Bezdin, that goes in the same category. Those are chamurais. And the Rambam says, if a person doesn't do tshuvah, the Kohen Gadol, at times the Beis HaMikdash brings a goat and says vidui, but without tshuvah, it won't work for the harsher mitzvahs.
Well,
We're going to get to questions. Let me just finish the halacha. We'll get to questions in 1 second.
It does work?
Yes.
Ah.
All the other mitzvahs which are leisaseh, or mitzvahs aseh that don't have kares, those are the lenient ones. So according to the Rambam, if a person on Yom Kippur, in times of Beis HaMikdash, there's a machlekes in Gemara. There's a machlekes in Rebbe and Rabbana. It's not the Kedusha. Rebbe says that if a person does, when the goat is brought in the Beis HaMikdash, whether you did Tshuvah or not, Yom Kippur atones for it. Okay? Rabbanan say that no, you have to do Tshuvah. Just the fact that he came around and brought, you have to do Tshuvah. Okay? So again, Rebbe says, it's in Kippur today, there's a goat in the Beis HaMikdash, that brings you atonement. Rabbanan say no. You have to do Tshuvah also. You can't just show up and not even show up and whatever. And do Tshuvah. The Rambam, he says there's a difference. Yes, you have to do Tshuvah. But even if you didn't do Tshuvah, then the kalos get included. Okay, let's go back to our question of, it says that the person should do Tshuvah and his relationship with Hashem should not be just for physical reward. It shouldn't even be for spiritual reward. It should be, because it's the truth, I want to serve Hashem. It should be out of ahavah to Hashem. Okay, so, how is a person supposed to achieve that? So the Rambam addresses that, and he says that the way for someone to get that is through contemplation, through meditation. Now, meditation, hisbeinenus, or the hisbeinin begadlas Hashem, is not meditation the way we have in today's day and age, the modern term meditation. The modern term meditation today means emptying the mind from any other thoughts. It's a relaxation technique and other things where a person tries to empty his mind from everything.
But it's empty your mind so that you can concentrate on what you're thinking about.
Okay, it's a positive thing, but it's not what the Rambam is referring to. The Rambam, when he says lihisbeinin, what he's getting at is that a person should strongly concentrate on one thought.
That's what I'm saying. That's what modern meditation is. The same thing.
Oh yeah, okay, thank you. I thought modern meditation was to empty your mind.
Empty your mind so that you can think just on Tshuvah and nothing else. I'm not hungry.
Okay.
I'm hungry.
So the emptying is the preparatory stage.
Forget about it.
Preparatory
Empty
stage.
your mind of that.
So what the Rambam says is a person needs to be mizbein, and a person needs to think deeply, reflect, concentrate on what? On the greatness of Hashem. You take some time in your day by davening or other before davening or some other time, and you think deeply and focused on the vastness of creation and how amazing the things that Hashem created is, and you realize Hashem's impact as creator of the universe. In detail, you think of, what do we say in davening in Psukei de Zimra? What's the whole beginning of davening? It's praising Hashem about the blades of grass and about every creature that has what they need and Hashem's compassion for everyone. All of these things are so specific. What are we doing? We're creating a certain feeling, right? That when we come to Krishna, we have hopefully a certain love and interest and inspiration to be closer to Hashem. The Rambam says the mitzvah to love Hashem and Tshuvah should be done in a way of Ava has to be that a person contemplates, he thinks, he reflects, he takes the time to try to develop a feeling. How do you develop that feeling? When you think about Hashem, when you learn about Hashem. And the Rebbe explains this at length, and the Rebbe says, don't think that this applies only to Yechidei Skula. Certain chosen individuals, they could reach a level where they serve Hashem not because they're looking for reward, but they serve Hashem because they have an ava to Hashem. He says no. The Rambam is very specific. This applies to anoshim, noshim v'taf, men, women, and children, even little kids.
Children?
Yes. He says very specifically that yes, in the beginning, it's a disciplinary relationship, or the education may start in a way where you tell a person that there's consequences for your actions. You better do the right thing, you'll get rewarded. And you don't, there's punishment. But very soon after, we have to graduate from that relationship with Hashem to one that is more one of Ahava, one that is a loving relationship, where a person is yearning, he wants to be connected to Hashem. And it's accessible and reachable for every single person. And we have to strive together. It's a mitzvah, b'haftas Hashem, you have to love Hashem. And the mitzvah is done through hispainus, through contemplation, through learning about the greatness of Hashem. And that's primarily in Primius HaTorah, in the esoteric parts of Torah, in Chassidus, where a person learns about the depth, Kabbalah and so on. A person learns about Hashem. And when you learn, as the Rambam says, how do you come to loving Hashem? By knowing Him. How do you come to know Him? By learning about Him. So the more you learn about Hashem, the more you develop those feelings. Okay, Halacha Gimel. We spoke about the So'ir HaMishtaleach, the goat that gets sent away, right? But today, we don't have a goat, and we don't have a Beis HaMikdash. So the Rambam says, Bazman hazeh, in these days, she'ein Beis HaMikdash kayam, we don't have a Beis HaMikdash. Ve'ein lanu mizbeach kapara, we don't have an altar, a mizbeach, which is bringing atonement. Ein sham elul Tshuvah, all we have is Tshuvah. Okay, because we're not bringing the goat, and we're not bringing a korban on the mizbeach. All we have is Tshuvah. And Tshuvah mechaperes al kol averis. Tshuvah, the Rambam says, atones for all averis. Afilu rasha kol yamav. Even a person who was a rasha his entire life. Entire life. He was a wicked person and a sinner. And then, v'asa Tshuvah b'acharena. At the very end, he realized his time is up. He went and did Tshuvah. Paskins the Rambam, this is halacha. He says as follows. They will not. They means the Bezdin Shalmaila, the judgment, will not mention anything to him from anything that he's done wrong. Why? Because he did Tshuvah. Now, people shouldn't say they're going to wait till the last minute, because unfortunately, very often, or not very often, but unfortunately, sometimes a person doesn't have the opportunity to do Tshuvah. Or they're so numb as a result of their actions that they don't even care to do Tshuvah. However, if a person did Tshuvah, he could have had 119 years and 364 days of his life. He was a big Rasha. And on the last day of his life, 120 years old, 180 years old, however old he is, he does true Tshuvah. It's so powerful. There's no korban. There's no So'ir HaMishtaleach. It's not Yom Kippur. He did Tshuvah. It's all wiped away. And when he comes L'mayla, there's nothing mentioned at all. And he quotes the pasuk from Yecheskel, "Shenemma v'rishas harasha leikashva b'yimshuva mirishay." The day that a rasha returns from his wickedness, he won't stumble upon his evil doings if he did true Tshuvah. The atzmei shel yom haKippurim mechaper lashavim. Then the Rambam says like this: we don't have a korban today, but Yom Kippur has a certain holiness to it. The fact that today is Yom Kippur, if you do Tshuvah, you have atonement. On Yom Kippur, we don't have a korban, we don't have a mizbeach, but Tshuvah, the day of Yom Kippur and Tshuvah together, atones for a Yid completely.
But without Tshuvah, Yom Kippur doesn't atone for anything.
Okay, so this is a very big machlekes.
Okay.
And what does Tshuvah really mean? But right now, at this stage of the Rambam, what the Rambam is telling us is that yes, you have to do Tshuvah. You paskins like Rabbanan, you have to do Tshuvah. And if you don't do Tshuvah, then Yom Kippur is not going to be Machar.
It should be called Yom Tshuvah.
Very good.
Should be.
Right. What's the answer? Why is it not?
But by calling it Yom Kippur, that's how used to mean Yom Tshuvah.
Atonement.
That's what it meant. That's what it
Yom
means.
Kippur.
Yeah. Okay. However, the Rambam is going to elaborate a little bit here. That even though Tshuvah is mechaper on everything, it brings atonement on everything, and Yom Kippur itself, there are certain averes that you don't even have to wait till Yom Kippur. Okay?
To be mechaper.
Correct. They get full atonement right away. There are other averes, v'yesh averes, she'ein miskapres al achar zman. There are other averes that even after a person does Tshuvah, he doesn't obtain that kapara right away. Rather, he has to wait. Ketzad, for example, if a person was over on a mitzvah she'ein ba kares, was that a chamures or a kales? No kares. It's one of the kales. It's more lenient mitzvahs, as you refer to.
Which one?
There's no kares.
For?
A particular mitzvah.
Oh, okay.
He was over on it. The asa tshuvah, and he did tshuvah. Ein izaz mishama chameichel in light. He doesn't move from there, which means that immediately he gets his mechila. Okay. He made a mistake. He forgot to, God forbid, he forgot to put on tefillin. If he does tshuvah, then he gets forgiven. It's not an isur kares. And this, regarding these types of mitzvahs, the Navi says, "Shuvu banim sheiravim erpamim mishuvei seichem," that if just return, I'll shake off, so to
This
speak.
is a lob. The lob?
A non-kares,
Anything.
yes.
A bittul mitzvah.
Yes.
Yes.
If it has no kares involved. Certain
Yes,
mitzvahs.
yes.
If a person was over on a leisa say which doesn't have kares, and no misas bezdin. So, again, a mitzvah asay that has no kares, and a person does tshuvah right away, does tshuvah properly, then right away he has kapara. A leisa say he violated something, a transgression, or something which has misas bezdin attached to it, and he does tshuvah, he doesn't get his kapara right away. His tshuvah is toila, it's hanging, it's somewhere in the balance, it's pending. Okay? Yom Kippur gives him atonement. So certain mitzvahs, the moment he does tshuvah, it's a mitzvah, I say a positive mitzvah that he missed, and it's not connected to Yisur Kares or Misas Bezdin, then right away he has his tshuvah. If it's a leisa say, it's an avera that he transgressed, or something which is involved with kares, then he does tshuvah, but tshuvah is hanging until Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur will get his kapara. That's why it says, this day will give you kapara. What happens if a person was over on krisus or misas bezdin? It was not even the middle category where it's a leisa say, which has no kares and no misas bezdin. He did something really harsh, okay? Which, regarding that, it says, Tshuvah and Yom Kippur, it's still hanging in the balance. What happens after that? The Yisurin, the challenges, really means suffering that a person goes through, that gives him the full kapara. So the difficulties of a person, no one should go through any of these difficulties, and Hashem should override that and give full tshuvah. But what the Rambam is saying here is that those challenges, it's the tshuvah, the Yom Kippur, and those challenges, that gives the person his full kapara. Now, all of these things that we said, that even in the harshest case, right, it's Isur Kares, it's a Misas Bezdin, it's a Leisa Say, there's something else here. This is all if he was not Mechalal as Hashem. He didn't desecrate Hashem's name, but he did the Avera. But someone that's Mechalal as Hashem, someone that desecrates Hashem's name.
Your examples?
I don't know the example right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was Mechalal Hashem while he did the Avera, even though he did Tshuvah. And Yom Kippur came, and he still has, strong in his Tshuvah. And he had certain challenges and suffering during his lifetime. He does not have a complete kapara until he passes on. That's his kapara. Rather, Tshuvah, Yom Kippurim, and Yisurim, those three together, they're all they're pending. But when a person passes on, that's the kapara. Now, I want to just stress that we have a certain power of tshuvah, as is explained in Kabbalah, and that's the idea of tshuvah mi'ava, tshuvah out of love. When a person reaches a very strong level of tshuvah, this could take him even higher than all of these things. Because you could reach a level where your averos get transformed into mitzvahs. We'll talk about that more in Mitzvah Hashem, but the concept is that it's not just, okay, he did something wrong and now he's going to clean it up. And depending what he did, what does it take to clean? Right? Kapara is a lashon of washing away. In addition to atonement, it also means to wash away. There is the ability where a person could have the tshuvah of ava, where he reaches such a level of his tshuvah without any miso, that the mitzvah becomes, the avera becomes a mitzvah. And all those negatives that he's done get transformed into positive. And in such a case, he doesn't have to go through those things. As the pasuk says, okay, this is the end of Perek Aleph. Yes, thank you. That the averos, the transgressions that he did even on purpose, they turn into mitzvahs because you use that as a catalyst to change and to grow.
This isn't in the Rambam.
No, I'm just explaining that if someone was Mechal Hashem, the Rambam says only way is Misa. It's the only true atonement they'll get. And up until that time, Tshuvah was good and Yisurin helped and Yom Kippur helped, but they're not fully there. And I want to just clarify that there is another way to get around it.
Good.
Okay. Before we go on to Perek Beis, any other questions?
The wording is created so you include pretty much every category. You have to know that you did it.
We even have no, but it's hard to have real regret if you don't know what you're regretting on. In Perek Beis, he talks about it. So certain things we didn't know about, and it gets covered. But you can't confess if you don't mean it. This is going to say, and if you don't know it, it's hard to mean it. Unless what you're saying is, I may have made a mistake this year. I may not know about it, but I don't want to do such a thing, and I feel bad that I did it. And the fact that we discussed earlier that a mistake in a way is worse than a purpose, because it means that you're prone to it, or you have a tendency to it, or you're not that refined. So there's a way to do tshuvah for b'lo yodin, for not knowing, or without our consciousness, so to speak.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What happens if you do an avera and you just remember you did an avera, but you don't remember what the avera is, when you did it, or anything? You don't remember much about it.
So when you do tshuvah, it wipes it away, even things that you don't remember. If you really mean it, you're never going to do it.
How do you know what kind of tshuvah to do?
You daven to Hashem. Hashem forgives you. Very good question. Because it's a little harder to know, right? Very hard to know. Very good. Perek Sheni. What's Tshuvah Gemura? What's a complete Tshuvah? So Rambam elaborates. Someone, as he'll bring an example in a second, someone was over a certain thing, and then he has a chance to do the same thing again. And he doesn't. Then we know that he really did Tshuvah. Okay? He's not doing it because he's afraid if someone's going to see him this time around, or he's not strong enough to do that Avera again. Last time I had the physical strength to do it, or I had the desire to do it, or nobody was watching me. I did Tshuvah. Now, sometime later I get this new opportunity, and I want to do it again, and I'm not afraid of anyone else, and I have the same opportunity, and the same strength, and so on, and I don't do it, that's when it's a real Tshuvah.
Is this itself complete Tshuvah, or is it a sign of complete Tshuvah? In other words, one way of taking this is we were laying out steps in doing Tshuvah? Vidoi, Yom Kippur, Chas v'Shalom Asurin, Misa. Is this like a step? You're in a position, and the step in doing Tshuvah Gemara is you're in a situation and you don't do the thing. This is a step.
Okay, so
or is it a sign that you've done Tshuvah?
I'm going to repeat your question. Okay. Your question is this the only way to achieve Tshuvah, or is this just an indication that Tshuvah was done? And up until this point, we don't have a proof that I really did Tshuvah, because I never had the chance to do it again. Or I had the chance, but I didn't have the same desire. Okay? The Rambam is clearly of the opinion that it's not the ultimate Tshuvah yet. Okay? Again, there's ways to achieve greater Tshuvah, but in this halacha, what the Rambam is saying is Tshuvah Gemura is when you had the opportunity, the same urge, the same ability, the same situation, time, place, whatever. 1 second, and you don't do it. That is real Tshuvah.
At that point, that is the point where you're achieving Tshuvah Gemara.
Yes.
Or so it's part of the avoda.
Well, it's not really part of the Veda because you can't go looking.
Or is it just a sign?
You can't go looking for that challenge again, right? So your question is it a sign or is it reality? It's reality. Okay? And the Rambam brings some Shleima HaMalach who says, Uzcher be'echa b'mei b'chureisecha. Remember your Creator while you're young. Because when a person is young and they have certain desires and strengths and abilities, and you remember Hashem and you don't mess up, now I know that it's a Tshuvah Gemura. But if the person waited until he was very old, and he doesn't have those desires or abilities to transgress those things, ultimately, okay, now you have to do Tshuvah, thank you. But let's not forget, he said before, that if a person does Tshuvah on the last day of his life, right, he realizes that he's knocking on heaven's door, and he does Tshuvah then, it's still a full Tshuvah, and he still gets kapara, and nothing will be mentioned to him at all, that anything is done wrong. So 1 second, nothing will be mentioned at all. So it is a Tshuvah Gemura. It's not called Tshuvah Gemura, but any negativity is gone.
Okay.
But if you want to know what's the ultimate, what's Gemura, not regarding reward and punishment, and not regarding consequences, just on the truest levels of Tshuvah, it's I was able to and I didn't. I wanted to and I didn't. I could have, but I didn't. That's the higher level. That's Tshuvah Gemura that we're talking about.
Is that Tshuvah Ma'ava also?
It's probably the ultimate is due to Ava. It can be done through a year also. A person is afraid of Hashem. He says not from Yira, he's not afraid of people seeing him. Sometimes, the first time he did Aveira, he figured no one's going to see. Second time he had the opportunity and he didn't do it, he was afraid because there was cameras. Someone might walk in on him. That's not true Tshuvah. You didn't have the ability again. Okay? And again, he stresses that if a person went through his whole life and he did Tshuvah on his last day, and he passed away in Tshuvah, all of his Averis gets forgiven. They all get atoned for. As it says, the Bible tells us, as long as the sun and the light were not darkened, and the moon and the stars, and the clouds after the rain didn't return, which represents a time of passing, you can still do Tshuvah. And from here the Rambam learns, and Paskins la'alacha, if a person does Tshuvah, even though there are other levels of Tshuvah Gemura, if he did Tshuvah, as long as he was alive, then it's completely forgiven, and it will not be mentioned, or he won't have to pay for it in any way, and so on. What's Tshuvah? We keep on saying Tshuvah, Tshuvah, Tshuvah. So the Rambam continues, Mahi Tshuvah, the person that did the Aveira will leave his Aveira, will let go of that behavior. He throws it behind him. He should take it out of his mind, and make a firm decision in his heart not to do this Aveira again. So Vidui is important, right? But what's Tshuvah part? What is it? So he was doing something wrong, he was eating something that's forbidden, and he leaves that behavior. And from his mind, he pushes away this idea. and he decides firmly in his heart, I'm not doing this thing again.
That's tikkun.
Huh?
That's tikkun.
Which part? The Yigmar B'Levi?
When you don't do it again, it's tikkun.
Right. Yeah. And that's what Yeshaya Navi says, Yazev Rasha Darkei. A person, a Rasha, should leave his path. Because there's a certain act, a certain deliberate decision. I'm leaving that behavior, I'm leaving that lifestyle, I'm leaving those habits. And he should regret about the things that happened in the past. As the Pasuk says, after I returned, I regretted, meaning I regretted the stuff that I've done wrong. Hashem, so to speak, bears witness and testifies on him that he's not going to go back to this Aveda ever again, and he's not going to do such an Aveda. And then a person has to do vidui, he has to confess verbally and say things that he decided in his heart. Hashem, I'm never going to do this again. I feel bad that I did it. I regret it. It's not me, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm going to finish with the final halacha gimel here. He says like this: anyone that does vidui dvarim, he confesses, but he didn't make a firm decision in his heart to let go of this behavior. So he's standing in shul and he's saying Hashem v'gadnu, but he has plans to go do the same thing he just did before. I don't regret it. Or I don't have plans. I don't really regret what I did. It was pretty good. I'm happy. I enjoyed it, or I benefited from it. That's comparable to someone who is tevel v'sheretz biyadei. There's a certain term in halacha. You know, if someone touches a sheretz, an insect, and it becomes impure, he has to go to a mikvah, right?
Just from touching?
Yeah. But if he goes into this mikvah, it'll purify him. Now, while he's in the mikvah, he's holding the sheretz in his hand. So, you're in the mikvah, but you're holding the sheretz. So, does it work or not?
But wait a minute, what if you did benefit?
1 second. Let's table sheretz biyadei.
Okay.
Okay? She'ena tefillah me'alas, like this tefillah in the mikvah, this going into the mikvah does not help until he throws away the insect. If you're holding it in your hand while you're in the water,
Yeah.
the same thing applies. A person is doing vidui, he's doing tshuvah, but he doesn't regret it. I didn't leave my past. Okay, Hashem, listen, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it again. And you're not sincere in your resolve. Okay?
Oh, so we're talking about the resolve not to do it again.
Correct. That means I left this way. The person has to elaborate, so to speak, specify the chet. As it says, okay. We have time for one more. Tshuvah. Number 4, the path from the paths of Tshuvah, from the ways of Tshuvah. A person should cry out to Hashem constantly, with crying and begging. Please forgive me. A person should do tzedakah based on his ability. He should give tzedakah. If he could give at least 10%, he says, and preferred all the way till 20%, till a chemish.
How does this relate to what we had before? How does tzedakah relate to all that?
Because a person turns to Hashem and he calls out and he says, Hashem, I'm a different person. Forgive me. And he does more positive things. Okay, so tefillah, tzedakah.
Tzedakah is an example, or
No, it says
something
special
special about tzedakah?
I think it's pretty special.
No, I mean like how we live.
It's very specific. It's from the Darchei Tshuvah. He's giving tzedakah. He'll distance himself greatly from the thing that he's done. It's not just I stop doing it. I consciously go away, far away, from that whole topic or concept. Mashana Shema, he changed his name. It doesn't mean literally his name, but it means I'm a different person. I'm not the same person that used to behave that way or used to do that. Right? I'm not the same person. And he changes all of his actions for the good, and to the correct path. Okay? He changes everything. I'm a different person. It's almost like I have a different name. The Goylam Imkaimai, and he goes away from his place, a different location, because Golos Mechaperes Oven, in the olden days, travel, a person who's a foreigner in a different city or a different state, it's not easy. You don't know anybody, you don't know how to figure things out, where to get some food, where to earn a living. It's not like it is today, where there's a very unified and combined, not even nationally, even globally, where a person could land somewhere else. Yeah, it's hard to be in a new place, and it takes immigration or whatever else is. Being a foreigner is not easy, but going through Golus, where a person wanders around from city to city and place to place, is a certain kapara for the person. Why? It causes the person to be somewhat subdued or low-spirited, humble, and this is as a result of that goal. So, in addition to vidui dvarim, and the difference is what the avera was, whether it's in Kippur that does it Tshuvah or Chasidic Yisurim. In addition to that, a person has to confess, verbalize what he's done, and then turn to Hashem and say, "I'm not the same person. I changed," and leave that behavior and distance himself very much from it. Thank you very much for joining. Join us again tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. Continue our learning.